Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. This is David Bianco. Today I'm going to do something a little different and focus on a concert I recently went to. Now, as you may know, I'm a pretty big fan of the Beatles. Started collecting their things way back in 1963. Having grown up in Gary, Indiana, I actually was in the region where the African-American couple who started Vee-Jay Records actually lived in Gary, Indiana. They officed out of Chicago, but a lot of their records on their label were sold locally and kept in stock. Not only at the record stores, but even in the drug stores. They would have them by the counter. So it was a little peculiar in a way, but it was promoting something that was related to the city, and they were proud of this couple who had gotten such a great start in the industry. Now, getting the Four Seasons and the Beatles, who were nobody early on, as well as Frank Eifeld, who was a gentleman who had actually a record released with the Beatles through Vee-Jay, was something that at the time, well, it wasn't anything really big across the country, so to speak. But as we all know, as late 63 came on and early 64, when I Want to Hold Your Hand was released just around Christmas time, things exploded. And of course, by February, when the Beatles landed in the United States to appear on Ed Sullivan, everything was out of control at that point. And so one of the things that has come out of all of this Beatlemania, as the Beatles' music has lived on, decade after decade, generation after generation, are these Beatle tribute bands. And there are many of them. As a matter of fact, I asked ChatGPT to name them all, and it couldn't name them all, but it gave me a list of the top ones. And you can see here on this list, the one that is at number 2 is actually the band I saw recently in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And they're called Rain.
Special report.
The biggest rock and roll band in the world has called it quits.
Reporting outside Abbey Road Studios today, fans are reacting to the news that the Beatles are breaking up. And in the end...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On tonight, live right here on our stage, we're going to have a really big show. Now you're going to be twice entertained by these youngsters from Liverpool. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Rain as the Beatles.
So as you can see right there at the start, a pretty elaborate production value related to the intro. A lot of these songs were done more or less in the timing sequence of their different stages of the music that they produced, from the early tunes like Please Please Me Here all the way to the end. And a lot of these songs, of course, are very familiar to us. I'm not going to be able to play very much of any section due to licensing issues and YouTube, but I do want to give you a sense of what they look like and what they sounded like in the background a bit, and recognize that these guys really were sounding and looking like the Beatles, and even a bit of that cheeky Beatles humor.
Well, good. Everybody's welcome, you know. We're all here for the same reason. It's to celebrate the music of the Stones. Yeah, I love the Stones too, man. I do. Fred, Wilma, and Dino back there. No, we're here to celebrate the music of the Beatles. So you know who they are? Good. Otherwise, this would have been very awkward. Let's see if you know this next song. It changed the way we listen to pop music. I'm sure you know it.
And the sound was really well done in terms of balance overall. It wasn't too big, it wasn't too small. It had a little bit of a minor stereo effect, but more mono, more things coming from the middle, I noticed, which I think was maybe purposeful on the earlier things. And then as the songs went on and the years went on, some of that sound opened up a bit, I noticed. So I think they purposely went through and went and changed their sound as they grew, just as the Beatles did in their very production value. We're seeing a very mature group here that is representing all of the stages of the Beatles. They had some breaks where they were changing costumes, and there was either a video section that you would see like what we just saw, or there would be an intermission. There was one of those as well. But a very well planned and choreographed act up and down the line from all of the Beatles tunes, from the very earliest of Please Please Me to literally the end. So there you have it, a really great concert experience with Rain. I want to thank my friend Brad Vinyl Rush for taking the time and going to the concert, inviting me to it, and having his son and friend there, talking to those younger folks and their appreciation for this music. Just shows you how this music lives on decade after decade, generation after generation, and such great memories for me, having grown up in a place where a lot of Beatles music was early available, and I really didn't know even what I was getting into at 6 or 7 years old. But here I am, 60 years later, and it's quite an audio feast. So thanks for joining me today. If you haven't subscribed, please consider looking at that bell below and clicking on it to get a notification. A thumbs up or a like is appreciated, as well as comments. So until we catch you next time on our next Safe and Sound Texas audio excursion, take care, everybody.